Hello, my name is Chad Walkaden, the founder at OnTracka. If, as yet, you're not familiar with what OnTracka is about or what we do, we're going to put some information here and explore as much as you want, because today we're going to get straight into it. And what we're going to be looking at is driving laws, right? And just to say from the beginning, understand, and firstly, you've got to give applause when is required and be the cheerleaders for others, because there's been a wonderful team in Australia behind the Drive Change initiative. And as mentioned, got to give that applause because they identified this issue several years ago and they've been pushing for change. Now, if you're listening to this, you probably understand and you get the pain that occurs for different patients that are in Australia, where they're facing huge discrimination for receiving a legitimate medicine, particularly when we compare that to different options that would be available where they would still be able to drive. Yeah, so why is this relevant for me at the moment? I'm coming back to Australia. So I come back to Australia in 7 days. This is the first time that I'm going to be back in Australia in almost 4 years. It's the longest time I've ever been out of Australia. There's a number of reasons and I think some of it is going to age. So I'm not going to go into all those details and some of the feedback that I got from you last week and from some of these other longer format videos that we've been doing has been stop rambling so much, Chad. So just kind of be a bit more concise. I don't know how you are responding to what I'm talking about, and it seems I'm rambling right now, but I would love to hear. I know last week was the best views that we got so far. So please let me know, help me out. Let me know, what do you want to see? How is this going? Give me any feedback that you have. But driving laws, now let me tell you why. So along with a number of different reasons that I said are going to age over time, one of the biggest factors have been driving laws, right? So as an individual, I take a number of different medicines. So as mentioned, I'm going to be in Australia in 7 days. This isn't a cannabis product, something that I have to have every day. I started a chemotherapy many, many years ago. As a result of taking the chemotherapy, there were certain changes that occurred in my body. I wasn't able to produce cortisol. I need to take that artificially. You could be like, why are you talking about that? On the other hand, let's assume that I was to take edibles. This isn't a sponsor or anything like that. I'm obviously not going to take a packet of this, but if I'm going to take an edible and I'm going to have that today, and then I'm not going to consume anything else until I get back to Australia. And then let's say I drive a car when I decide to get home. So 7 days will pass. This is still going to be in my system. There's no doubt about it, because I have been a patient since 2015. I have many breaks on a yearly basis. I probably try to have, at least 4, 6, 8 week tolerance break at a time, a massive chunk. Plus throughout the months, I'll ensure that I have different tolerance breaks built into my schedule. That said, that's going to be in my body. It's going to be in my system. And if you're a patient that has been consuming different cannabis-based medicines for a while, it's going to be in your system as well. And that then places you in a situation where you're almost running a gauntlet, right? So I remember when I was living back in Sydney before I went away, if there was a meeting or if I had to go see family, or if things were going on and I had to cross, I'm from the Northern Beaches, so if I had to go into the city, I was always conscious that there were probably 3 hotspots that could have hit me. And so if you're a patient, you probably understand the anxiety and the concern that goes on when you are, and it's not under the influence, it's just if it is in your system. And it's just ludicrous. It is outdated, and it discriminates against different individuals. So this example, I could stop taking everything right now, and regardless of what occurs, I'm going to be in Australia next week. And the result, and this is the flow-on effect, right? So let's say that I do decide to get in a car. I do get a roadside test. And again, giving the shout out to the Drive team. If you look at their website, wonderful resources, 600,000 roadside tests are completed in Australia every year. So if you know those figures, you get it, everyone in Australia kind of sees that the police are out and about, right? So if you get caught, or let's think about this. If I get court and I get arrested and I get a drug driving offense, I'm not going to then be able to come to America. So a lot of the legwork that I've been doing in the US market with OnTracka, imagine if one of these things kick off, I need to come over here. I've gone back to Australia. I haven't consumed. I'm not impaired. There's a trace of cannabis in my system, which is going to be in my system for a minimum 50, 60 days, regardless of what I do. The result will be that I will then not be able to potentially come into America. Now, when you have a look at the risk of that for someone like myself, it just doesn't make sense. And that means that my choices for how I'm going to come back to Australia and what I'm going to do, I've already considered that I need to be in a place where I won't need to have a car that much, right? So I can't be risking it every day to get in a car to run errands or to go see people when every day there's such risk associated with that decision. So, it's very unfortunate. And I know that many patients are like this across Australia, and many, as the industry is expecting, are kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting for change to occur. And there may be whispers that we may start to see some change soon, and we'll be able to follow up with this in the coming weeks as some of these whispers hopefully lead to different information that is going to result in better laws for Australian patients. So just a quick one on driving laws. We don't need to go into too much detail. It's unfair. It discriminates against cannabis patients in Australia. There's around 65,000 patients. I think that's probably more now at this stage. But if you want to get part of this, as mentioned, Drive Change is an initiative that you can get behind. Go check it out, get familiar with the team. They've got a wonderful team, wonderful ambassadors that all believe in the injustice that's associated with current laws at the moment. Basically, it's outdated. It needs to change. That's all for me at this stage. If you want to, just a little thing. When I come back to Australia, I'm going to be speaking in Sydney, Central Coast, and Brisbane thus far. I'm in the stages of looking at an event in Melbourne as well, which you can hear about soon, which I think is very important for some of the discourse that's going on in the Australian market at the moment and some of the private conversations that I'm having. So if you're in any of those areas thus far and you want to reach out for a conversation or you want to come for a meeting, please reach out to me. I'm always available, and I'm very interested in meeting either familiar faces that I've met over Zoom or new people that want to connect and have a bit of an interest in these shared areas that you see that I'm very passionate about. So please reach out on any of the platforms. As always, if you're in a situation where you want to be the biggest advocate for your health and you want to then be able to contribute to how we can change outdated laws, not only in Australia, but on a global level. We've seen that there's a big conference going on in Denver at the moment around psychedelic medicines. And the biggest thing that's coming out of that, well, one of the biggest things is that the old model of randomized clinical trials may not be the best way to be able to measure safety, effectiveness, and the quality of these medicines, which means real world evidence, real world data, along with other measures are increasingly going to be used. And I know there was a question around how credible some of this information is. To say, we don't show everything from that general user app. A lot of the OnTracka features come in through our certain studies that we provide. So if you want to benefit from the range of capacities that OnTracka has, or be part of that as a patient or as a clinic or as a sponsor or as a university, you've really got to see what kind of isn't available in the public domain as yet. A lot of, as mentioned, a lot of what our features and benefits now do, we're not the same company that we were a few years ago. So call me or my team, have a demo, and let's see how we can bring that value to your patients and learn from how, learn how we can discover the potential of these medicines that currently have a black hole of data. That is me for today. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.